Fallout Commander is here and it's dropping all sorts of bombs in our format. Atom bombs, sugar bombs, overpowered bombs people are going to complain about in a few months, you name it. Some of the cards have the potential to irradiate our format forever, becoming new staples, and some are just really bonkers and I want to talk about them. Good evening, darlings and deviants. My name is Lucy and I'm just a little loony. In the meantime, between now and Thunder Junction coming out, I want to talk a little bit more about the Fallout cards. While Doctor Who had some really cool build-around cards and a lot of internal synergies, I think a lot of these cards could break out into other decks and be, if not staples, extremely powerful game changers. So let's do a top 7 list of the best cards from Universes Beyond Fallout 4 Commander. Without further ado, let's start the show. First up is Strong Back at number 7. For 2 and a green, you get an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. Once it's on, equip abilities that target the enchanted creature and aura spells that target the creature both cost 3 less to cast. In addition, the enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each equipment and aura attached to it. This card is phenomenal in Voltron-style decks of all types because it makes literally everything else you attach to the creature in question cheaper, and it gives a buff for each and everything you put on it. Plus, it even includes itself, giving the creature an immediate +2/+2 buff. With an arsenal this big, you'll have nothing to fear in the wasteland. At number 6, we have Atomize. For 2, a black and a green, you get an instant that destroys target non-land permanent and proliferates. It's a really simple piece of removal to be sure, and it's a little bit on the expensive side, but decks that play with counters are going to adore this card. From Super Friends to +1/+1 counter decks to whatever Atraxapile your friend brought to Commander Night this week. Each and every one of those decks is going to want a copy of Atomize. Number 5 is Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. For 3 mana, you get an artifact that lets you put in 1 generic mana and tap it to get a food token. Then, if you sacrifice a food token, you get a tapped treasure token. For 1, this card is amazing in food decks, that should be obvious. It gives you an easy, repeatable source to make food tokens, and it gives an awesome benefit for sacrificing them. You know, what food decks want to do. Psst! Academy Manufacturer goes crazy with this card, even if they all come in tapped. More importantly, however, it gives us the answer to the burning question on everyone's minds as of 20 seconds ago. How much money does 1 generic mana cost in Magic the Gathering? Well, not accounting for inflation, because that sounds like a nightmare. If we assume an NCR dollar is as close as we can get to an American dollar, then we have a solid answer. For reference, 1 NCR dollar is worth about 0.4 caps, give or take some estimations. And in the Fallout games, a Nuka-Cola costs about 20 caps. So, doing the math, $10 equals about 4 caps, multiply that by 5, and we get $50 for a Nuka-Cola. And considering we get 1 food, a Nuka-Cola, from the vending machine, we can draw the conclusion that the 1 generic mana equals about 50 American dollars. I hate to interrupt, but doesn't the bottle cap the vending machine gives you for using the treasure count as the bottle cap you get in game? Ergo, wouldn't the 1 generic mana be 1 cap, which equals $4? See, this is why I don't do math. It's all too confusing. The card's good though, and hey, if you also have an undying battle with the monstrous entity known as math, maybe hit the subscribe button and join my team. One day, we shall win the day over our mathematical overlord. You know, maybe. Number 4 is Silver Shroud Costume. Oh, wait a minute, I thought we just went away from Ravnica. This looks like something Amelia would wear. Either way, they'd be wearing it for a good reason. Silver Shroud Costume is very similar to Whisper Silk Cloak. Whisper Silk Cloak is 3 mana for an equipment that costs 2 to equip and gives Shroud and makes the creature unblockable, while the costume only costs 2, has flash, equips when it comes into the battlefield, and also gives Shroud and Unblockable. Unfortunately, the Shroud only really lasts until the end of the turn, meaning it can't be targeted by anything, including other equipments, until the end of your turn. So really, at the end of the day, it depends on what your deck wants. Do you want the more consistent Shroud and the protection from the cloak, but not be able to equip the creature more? Or would you rather have temporary Shroud and mana cheating on the equip cost while not having that consistent protection? Whatever you choose, this card is super cool, so it's at number 4. When this card was revealed in the first look we got of this set, I wasn't super impressed, but the more I looked at it, the cooler and cooler it became. Vats comes in at number 3. For 2 black, you get an instant that has Split Second. That means people can't activate abilities or cast spells while Vats is on the stack. Just so you know, they can still flip morphs and trigger abilities though, so be careful about that. But what does Vats actually do? Well, with the Vault Assisted Targeting system, you can choose any number of target creatures with equal toughness and then destroy them all. On the surface level, it's really just a 4-mana kill spell, and that's not fantastic or anything. It's kind of bad, but the more you look at it, the better it gets. Sometimes it kills 2 things, sometimes you live the dream and hit 3 creatures. Oh, and you can also just kill an entire token army all at once, because most of them are going to have the same power and toughness, you know? Number 2 is Meat Hook Massacre at Home. Kinda. Nuclear Fallout is a sorcery for X and 2 black that gives all creatures twice -X/-X until end of turn, and each player gets X rad counters. So, for example, 5 mana gives all creatures -6/-6, and each player gets 3 rad counters. Make sense? While it doesn't leave behind a really cool enchantment, and it doesn't drain your opponents or gain you any life, rad counters are nothing to sneeze at, and it's a little bit more mana efficient. While this is a far cry from a Toxic Deluge, this card is a very close second and could be super strong. And finally, at number 1, we have Synth Infiltrator. For 3 and 2 blue, you get an artifact creature synth that enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a synth artifact creature in addition to its other types. If that was all, this would just be an expensive clone and it wouldn't be on this list. But the cool thing about the Infiltrator is that it has Improvise. That means that instead of paying the 3 generic for the mana cost, you can tap any 3 artifacts as well. That makes it super close to a Phyrexian Metamorph, just with a few caveats. You know, the synth can only cost 2, but it's all colored mana and only hits creatures. Metamorph is 3 mana, but it's all generic and can hit artifacts, and you can pay life for it. It just really depends on what you're looking for, or you just play both of them in a clone deck or something. And that's my top 7 Fallout cards for Commander. If you like this video, check out this one here. It's on the Mothman, or maybe this one, where I cover the top 7 budget lands for Commander. As always, thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, au revoir!